Namaste students, welcome to our today's session, part A, Employability Skills, Unit 1, Communication Skills, part 1. See children, so far we have seen part B, Vocational Skills, where we have learnt few applications like Word, Excel, PowerPoint of LibreOffice Suite. But here in part A, it entirely depends upon completely with employability skills, because since this is a job based subject which you are learning, it mainly focuses on placement of jobs. What are the skills you have to acquire for getting placements? Okay, so this is employability skills. Under employability skills, the first skill is communication skills. So it is introduction about communication, communication cycle, methods of communication, and feedback. These are the topics we are going to discuss today. What is communication? The word communication comes from the Latin word communicare, meaning to share. You know very well, communication is nothing but sharing information, isn't it? Yes. See, now we are sharing informations through some technology. So that is what we call as communication. When we deliver some message, when we transmit some message from the sender to the receiver, then that is called communication. So exchange of information, this exchange of information can be of any form. Okay, you may speak, or you may show it as a visual video, or you may show some signs or symbols or even signals, or even it in the written form. So there are different ways of communication, sharing of information. That is what is given here. Exchange of information by signs and signals. Speaking, writing, or using some other medium and means is called communication. Communication has three important parts: transmitting, listening, feedback. The sender transmits the message through one medium or another. The receiver listens or understands the message. Feedback: the receiver conveys their understanding of the message to the sender in the form of feedback to complete the communication cycle. Transmitting, you know very well. Suppose if you send a message to your friend, you are the transmitter. Okay, your friend listens to the message, understands. Okay, that is listening part. Feedback: suppose your friend wants to convey something, a reply, respond to you, then that is a feedback. Then communication cycle. This is a process of communication: sender, message, encoding, channel, receiver, decoding, feedback. See, communication cycle is a process by which a message is sent by one individual and it passes through a chain of recipients. There may not be one. See, if you wanted to send a message as hi to your friend, either through WhatsApp or a mail or anything, you are the sender and you have got the message called hi, and you wanted to encode the message. What is encoding? How the sender chooses to bring the message into a form of appropriate for sending, which is appropriate for sending. That is, you may have an audio message or a text message or a visual message, video message. So any form which is being prepared, that is a encoding. When it is in a appropriate form for sending, that is called encoding. So you are the sender, you have the message, it has to be encoded, and how the message has to be transmitted? It has to transmit through a channel. For example, now we are communicating through air, isn't it? Through a network, through air we communicate. Then air becomes the medium, it is a channel for communication. Similarly, there are various means or medium of communication that is called channel. Then receiver. So when it passes through the channel, it has to reach the receiver, and it has to get decoded. Means at the sender point it has to be encoded, at the receiver's point it has to be decoded. For example, your message will not be sent as such, it will be encoded, it will be broken up into pieces and sent. Okay, and again it has to be reassembled at the receiver's end, so that is why it is called decoding at the receiver's point. Then feedback, the receiver's response to the message, that is a reply or the response which you give to the sender from the receiver's part, that is called feedback. Sender sends a message through a channel. A channel is used to transfer the message. Message is received by the receiver. Receiver replies to the sender. Communication starts with sender, ends with receiver. What are the various methods of communication? Verbal communication, non-verbal communication, visual communication, written communication. Okay, verbal, non-verbal, visual, written communication. Verbal communication. When you speak, when you use sounds or words or language, then that is called verbal communication. Verbal communication includes sounds, words, language, and speech. Speaking is one of the most effective and commonly used way of communicating. It helps in expressing our emotions in words. Hope you have understood what is verbal communication. When we speak and we express our ideas using sounds or words or language, then that is called verbal communication. What are the types of verbal communication? Interpersonal communication, written communication, small group communication. Interpersonal communication. Few examples are given. A manager discussing the performance with an employee. Maybe if you take a school, your class teacher discusses a few ideas to the class leader. That is interpersonal, one-to-one. Okay, that is interpersonal communication between two individuals. When the communication takes place, then that is called interpersonal communication. Written communication. A manager writing an appreciation email to an employee. Written communication is nothing but when you write letters or when you send mails or SMS or WhatsApps, chats, they are called written communications. Small group communication, it is nothing but the conferences, meetings, when it goes on among many officials or many people, more than one people, more than two people, then that is called small group communication. Advantages and disadvantages of verbal communication. Advantages: it saves time, it saves money, feedback quickness, most convenient method, ease of preparation. Disadvantages: chances of distortion in meaning, not convenient for long messages, irrelevant information, misunderstanding, communication cost. Disadvantages are you sometimes you may misunderstand few words. Okay, then that becomes a disadvantage. Sometimes if it is irrelevant for listening, then that is also a disadvantage. If it is a long message, then it is not convenient for the receiver to understand. That also becomes disadvantage. And the communication cost is also very important, that also becomes a disadvantage. Then comes non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is nothing but when you use body language, gestures, and facial expressions to convey information to others. Sometimes, for example, you may call your friend without the knowledge of the teacher. You wanted to call your friend from the classroom. You are standing out. What will you do? You will just shake your hands and show some gestures, or you will just nod your heads and use your body languages, isn't it? So that is called non-verbal communication. When you don't use words, when you don't speak, instead of your sound, your audio and voice, something else speak. What is that? Your face, your body, your gestures. Then that is called non-verbal communication. What are the types of non-verbal communication? Facial expressions, posture, gestures or body language. Facial expression. Our expressions can show different feeling such as happiness, sadness, anger, surprise, fear, etc. You may smile when you are happy. Your face changes when you are sad or angry and even for surprise. So that is facial expressions. Posture. Postures are different. It shows our confidence and feelings. For example, a straight body posture shows confidence while a slumped posture is a sign of weakness. When you go for an interview, how your facial expression should be. What should be your posture of sitting, standing or walking. Everything includes in employability skills because it's a job-based subject. I say repeatedly, it's a job-based subject, so you should be very careful and very particular about each and every point when you go for an interview. The moment you enter the doorstep of the company till you come out, every moment of yours will be watched and will be analyzed. It will also be taken into account for employability. So in such a case, you should know what are the ways to communicate with people. So that is why we learn this communication skills. And there are different forms of communication. Even every form of communication of yours will be noted. So that is why we learn what is a proper communicating way, both verbally as well as non-verbally, and even written or visual. Every point of it we are learning now. Then posture. If you sit straight in front of an official, executive, or any higher official, you are supposed to sit straight. Then that shows your confidence level. If you sit slightly in a slumped posture, then it means that you're weak. You're lagging in some part. Okay, and your facial expressions are also very important. Look into the eyes of the person sitting in front of you, and if you speak, that it means that you speak the truth. Gestures or body language. Gestures include body movements. For example, raising a hand in class to ask a question. If you wanted to ask a question, what would you do? You will just raise your hands. That is a gesture. That is a body language. You are expressing to the teacher that you wanted to ask a question. Touch. A firm handshake. And even to people, if you handshake, you are not supposed to handshake for a long time. Just two shakes. Just a shake. That only shows that you are welcoming somebody or you are greeting someone. That also shows your confidence. Okay, then space is a physical distance between two people. When you communicate, unless and until you are very close to that particular person, you are not supposed to stand too close. You have to stand a little apart from the person with whom you communicate. Eye contact. As I told you earlier, look into the eyes of the person to whom you are talking. That will definitely show your confidence level. So that is what is eye contact. It shows that we are paying attention to the person. First of all, when you look into the eyes of the person and speak, it shows that you are paying attention. You are listening to that person. You are giving ears to that person. You are concentrating on that person. Okay, if you look somewhere else, it means that you are insulting them. So eye contact is also very important. Para language. How we speak affects our communication. For example, talking fast. You should not talk fast. Just Stop, convey, and wait for others' response. Wait for the next person's response. Do not get too much excited or too much nervousness while speaking. Don't speak neither speak too slow or neither speak nor speak too fast. Okay, so that level of communicating speed is very important. Advantages and disadvantages of non-verbal communication. Advantages: complementary, easy presentation, substituting, reducing wastage of time. It reduces wastage of time. Instead of you, some other non-verbal communication can also be used. It can be substituted for any expression. It's easy to present. Disadvantage: sometimes it would not be clear what you are about to tell. If it is a long conversation, it is not possible for non-verbal communication. Multi-channel means if you wanted to use this communication for many people, it is difficult to communicate. So these are the disadvantages of non-verbal communication. Then comes visual communication. It is the act of using photographs, videos, art, drawings, sketches, or charts and graphs to convey information. Sometimes you show charts or graphs, or even sometimes in news channels they show weather reports in form of charts or graphs. It is easy for you to understand at which part it is going to rain heavily or which part it is going to be a low rainfall. So that is what is visual communication. See some examples. Even your traffic signals or these signboards on the roads, which shows these kind of signals shows that some zones are under construction. Here pets are not allowed. This is no entry. This is radiation or hazardous. So your warning is given. Danger warning, CCTV surveillance, mobile phones. All these signs will be put up on the roads or any places or any buildings, which shows you visually that it communicates visually and shows that this is a happening state. Then written communication. Written communication is the act of writing, typing, or printing symbols like letters and numbers to convey information. It is helpful because it provides a record of information for reference. See, when you write and communicate, you have a proof. You have it as a proof. It is helpful for a very long time. You may communicate through a pamphlet, letter, email, or any part. Emails and chats are a common form of written communication in the workspace. Advantages and disadvantages of written communication. You may have a permanent record for which becomes an advantage. You can circulate it easily. It is suitable for statistical data. And few are the disadvantages: time consuming. When you write, it consumes more time. No, it is not flexible. No scope for clarification. Demands writing proficiency. It should be correct. Otherwise, if there are any mistakes, then that also becomes a disadvantage. Without any mistakes, you are supposed to write. The probability of wrong interpretation. These are the disadvantages. Feedback. Feedback can be negative or positive. When you wanted to convey your responses to the sender, you send a feedback. It is a final component and one of the important factors in the process of communication. So it is defined as a response given by the receiver to the sender. It can be both negative or positive. You may say that what you have written is not clear. What you are saying is not clear. That is a negative feedback. If you say that yes ma'am, I understood, okay ma'am, that is clear. If you say that, then that becomes a positive feedback. Types of feedback: positive, negative, no feedback. When you don't say anything, When you keep your mouth shut, then that is no feedback. Types of feedback: specific feedback, general feedback, descriptive feedback. So specific feedback provides detailed or specific information on where the student did well or not so well. Just look into the points here, children. General feedback, on the other hand, is very non-specific, such as good job or you did great. Descriptive feedback is specific information in the form of written comments or verbal conversations. Specific is when you are particular about any particular information. General is altogether when you give a good response, then that is general feedback. Descriptive feedback, when you give elaborately your feedbacks, when you give when you explain the complete conversations, then that is descriptive feedback. In the form of written or verbal conversations, then that is descriptive feedback. Descriptive feedback is the most powerful tool for improving students' learning. So, which is the most powerful tool? Descriptive feedback. If you don't understand, then definitely you should ask questions, raise questions. You should inform the teacher that you couldn't understand. Okay, so that is descriptive feedback. Ma'am, this point I couldn't understand. That is not clear. So could you please explain? Make it more clear. All these are the feedbacks, descriptive feedbacks you can give to a teacher so that you can understand better. Then that becomes the most powerful tool for improving students' learning. Importance of feedback. It validates effective listening. That's what I told you. When you give feedback, only then it motivates the other person to just give much more information to you and improve the communication. It also motivates, as I told you, it motivates. Feedback can motivate people to build better work relationships. It is always there. If every time you speak to a person, we communicate feedback, so it is impossible not to provide one. It boosts learning. As I told you, when you give feedbacks only, you can learn more. It improves performance. Definitely, at the sender's point, it also improves performance when they receive feedback. Thank you, children. This is what with the first session. So the next part of the session we'll see in the next class. If you have any doubts, you can post your doubts. Thank you so much. Thank you, children.